How's it going, everybody? It's Krusty O'Crow back again doing another Tactical Perspectives toy review special on a G.I. Joe adjacent third-party supplier line. Of course, talking about the Ramen Hunter main battle tank. Again, showing you the box. This ammo crate contains something I've been waiting on for almost 2 years. As I spotted this vehicle at my very first Joe Fest that I ever went to. It's the only Joe Fest I ever went to. Not this summer past, but the summer prior. And this was on display as something coming up for pre-orders at the time. And me being an armored soldier, I had to get my tank time in order for me to progress in my rank. So I got qualified on the Leopard main battle tank in time to go to Afghanistan. And while I did crew my RAV3 in Afghanistan on my second rotation, I was actually there as a spare gunner for the Leopards if we had to rotate guys out. Thankfully, I didn't have to stay inside those hot, clanky, smelly, oxygen-deprived beasts and try to make my coolant vest work in that hot sun. I managed to stay in my AC lav at the time, but it's not like I didn't have the utmost respect for these main battle tanks at the time. And you can see the Hunter shares a lot of the similar qualities of the Leopard. So I'm gonna show you how I put this thing together, how it came out of the box. I'm gonna do all my editing and just show you from box to decal to where we are, just how this thing came to me. Of course, I don't have the other variants of it that Ramen did produce, which was the Phalanx multiple rocket launching system, which would go great with CoverGirl as a Wolverine. Nor did I invest in the bridge layer, which would replace the turret as well. Hey, who doesn't like a good toss and cross and lift ticket, right? If you are interested in those variations of this, I say keep your eyes on 3-Star Draw, as he ordered both those. No, I simply wanted my one main battle tank for the same reasons as why I had ordered my Phalanx from Grid Iron. So in this review, you're not going to hear me give too much of attack grade, plate grade, je ne sais quoi grade. You're going to hear me talk about likes and dislikes as I talk about maybe comparing this to a Joe Ostraker or to a Phalanx Gridiron and where my returns are felt. I'll talk about all that, and if you guys enjoy these kind of reviews, just like seeing what I do with stuff and hearing my wonky take on things, like, share, subscribe. That's the best way to help support this hobby of mine, this channel, and I appreciate it. I'm also going to tell you guys, earlier this week, I put out something on my Insta and I posted about it, about what I've been up to the last week. I built myself a top shelf, meaning it has to sit up on the top shelf, elevation display, which will help me see my larger vehicles and things that I put up on the top shelf from a better angle than what I was currently able to do with the flat shelf. You can see 6-foot shelves from Costco are great at eye level and down. Once they're past your eye level, you lose depth of perception on what you're seeing. So that's what that was for. I built that display to accommodate this. That display is based on things I saw in Kosovo on my very first mission with the military, and also a little bit of my Afghanistan time, in that I wanted a position of overwatch for my tank to sit, kind of like how we had in Massamgar, we had tanks overwatching. So I built that display to accommodate that. I kind of guessed at the dimensions, and the funny thing is, the road is just a little bit too narrow. Well, so were the ones in Afghanistan, and that was part of the collateral damage we always were told to avoid, but couldn't sometimes, is when you need to get a tank into position, we're only just asking, is that wall stronger than my tank? No? Okay, let's go. So, I'm going to carry on. Let's go have a look at this thing coming out the box. All right, so we get our Hunter into that shipping container. Shipping container here, you can already see it. It's got Ramen written all over it. There's no air of mystery. It's not like a HasLab where you got to figure out what the code name is on the side of the box. Or, this one flat out says, one piece of the Hunter armored vehicles from Ramen. Be careful with this damn box. And it's got its gross weight. And it's taped up. Good to go. That's your shipper box. Once you get it inside, you get your Ramen box, which again looks like an ammo crate in all respects. Done up in a comic book style. You got your handles, and everything you see on the box is usually a sticker that is included in the sheets. But we have our tank, our main battle tank there, the Hunter, skirting this this lakeside. And there you go, a nice wooden box to add to your collections. I like to fill these with fig boxes and then stack them off to the side. That's all they are. They're going to give you some instructions for this tank. I suggest you follow them, you know, but does it really matter? It's pretty easy, because once you slide that out of the box, you get this this paper retainer sleeve that does rip it because there's a lot of mass to it, and you pull out these cut foam in which you see the tank seats. Now, you don't really have much to assemble, guys. You got to slap that barrel on. You got to put some antennas on there. Put your ACAC mount machine gun. It looks like a German MG3. You put that on there, and then you basically attach your turret and your magnetized gun crutch on the back and the antennas. Yeah, you're good to go. He also includes these nice sticker sheets, which I'm going to show you how to apply right now. As you can see, we've got everything all put together. It's time to do the decal sheet that was provided through Ramen. And this is a very interesting sheet of decals because of the way that they transfer onto the model. It's not like your standard peel and stick. It's peel, stick, rub, peel off. And what you get is a seamless transition of what looks like painted on details onto the vehicle, as opposed to stickers where maybe you could see a little bit of corner lift and things like that. Much neater. So I'm going to show you guys how they instruct you to put these decals on, just really easy. And I'm going to do it right here in front of you. I'm going to set this thing onto its side here. And you can see that I'm using a reference of a Leopard beam battle tank in Afghanistan. This is the guys I deployed with. You know, I saw these things every day, and one of the things that I had to say about it was, while I appreciated having all these decals to put onto it, what I noted was in the war zone, we like to keep our vehicles pretty sanitized, no real individual markings to really note who it is, besides, you know, what was needed for troop identifiers and, you know, NATO identifiers, such as the one I'm putting on now over the third road wheel here. You can see I've taken the sticker off, the laminate off. I'm just going to lay it in line with where I put it on the other side, which was over the hub center of that road wheel and about a few millimeters off the edge of the side skirt. And I'm going to place that like so, lined up. And now I'm just going to rub that in nice and flat. Make sure it's got the seal on, no bubbles, and you can see just like that. Now, just as per the directions, what they want you to do is start really rubbing it in there. I like to use the back of my fingernail, and it reminds me a lot of laminating our maps and things like that. You rub it in, you don't want to see any bubbles, and you're really putting that pressure onto the black part of the decal. Okay, I feel like I've rubbed enough of that, so I'm going to start doing my lift, and I'm going to try and lift it from the V point down right here in front of you. And hopefully that rub was enough, and it wasn't enough out there, so you might have to rub a little bit more. And it happened on the other side, so I'll try it from a different angle. I'll lift it from this side, and now I'm just going to come flat on the side of the V and see if that side's stuck. And it did. So you can see now, as I peel this, how that transitions. And there you go. Over the third road wheel on one side, over the third road wheel on the other side, and you have your markings on there. So I'm going to do up a bunch of little decals on there as I drop the D-ring off there. As many as I feel I want on this beast, and then maybe I'll save some of these other transfers for other vehicles like my Phalanx or my All-Striker, but they give you more than enough here, so I'm going to have fun with that for a little bit, but I wanted to show you how those go on. All right, well, it's going pretty easy. I've put all the decals on that I planned on using on this sheet, which has been minimal. And the reason I did that, guys, is because, as I showed you, in deployment, anything that makes your vehicle unique makes you easy to spot as a pattern and start seeing your routines. So by putting like unique markings on a tank, the enemy can tell how many times a week you're doing a route and when you do those routes. And that's the way you get IEDs. And if you like IEDs, just keep making yourself look individuals. But that led to me having a little less fun with the decals on this because I wanted to keep it minimized. So I stepped outside some of those boundaries and said, well, I'll minimize it, but I do want to have some unique features to it. So of course I put my force identifier V on there, you know, like all NATO missions, we have those on there. This means I don't have to put GI Joe on the side, nor do I have to put Canada or USA anywhere on it. This is Allied. Our enemies don't have these kind of tanks. I recognize the Allied. I recognize the tank. I don't need to see its flag on there to know whether or not to shoot that. So minimalizing. What I did put up here as well on the turret is the call sign 3-1. 3 marking which squadron it is. A squadron, B squadron, C squadron. This is C squadron, 1st troop. All right, so 3-1. And because there's no Alpha Bravo Charlie over this, that means this is the troop leader, the officer, for 3-1. Okay, that's the call sign on it. On the front, I only put the one decal. Maybe I shouldn't have. I figured all of my tanks, if I had multiples, would share this decal of the white knight symbol. No problems. I did have one problem getting the black one on there. It wound up tearing, so I put the white one over it, if you're wondering why I switched it up. And then again, it's repeated on the back side over here. Same thing, 3-1. And the NATO mark, right? I didn't put anything on top, right? Because way we identify our vehicles usually are panel markers, IR strobes, things like this. A pilot ain't gonna have time to try and zoom in and read your call sign for the most part on a fast airstrike. He probably knows what your tank looks like from the ground. Although we have had friendly fire-ins, it has happened. But what I wanted to show you guys was just, I had to put a marking on the back. Normally I would have my call sign marked on the back of the turret, but the back of this turret is far too flat for that. So I put the 3-1 on the back right fender and 3rd squadron marking there, just above these beautiful rubber mud flaps for infantry to stack behind. That's one thing I would have liked to have seen marked in one of these, is a little tank phone for the infantry, because we still have them on some of our tanks, but it's outdated tech anyways, it's fine. But you'll see that we do have our D-rings here and our pintle mount, or our pintle hook, for towing that MMS for you guys, and other trailers that we get in the Joe Future. This magnetized gun crutch was an ad, and it flips up and down and opens like that. What is the purpose of the gun crutch? You may never have asked, and I'll explain it even though you didn't. The gun crutch is there for the hydraulics and electronics in the tank turret system. We have what's called the stab, stability on these tanks, which helps keep your gun level at a target when you're moving. All of that requires a lot of systems. And if one of those systems goes down, something breaks or whatnot, you have a hazard of sparks. Sparks inside a tank are a nightmare, and you have to shut it down and take care of it instantly, because you could arc out and detonate the ammo in the back of the turret storage bins, right? That's a key kill right there, that you're blowing up your own tank with sparks. So in order to minimize that, when not in combat, when traveling, for the most part, you'll be directed to take your gun and put it in the gun crutch. Traverse your vehicle to the rear and gun crutch the gun, so you can take the pressure off your hydraulics. You can shut your hydraulics right down because you're not using your turret. And this is why crew commanders have to get used to several positions in the tank, because they have to follow where the driver is going and things like that. So I just wanted to explain that gun crutch theory for some people that may never have understood why tanks drive around like that. I'm going to turn it over here to the front because I wanted to show you this. This is one of the issues I had with this, and we're going to talk about play features here. So let's talk about the play features for this. This is where I start running into some criticisms. There were 3 variants of this tank that I could have ordered from Ramen. You had the Hunter, you had the Phalanx, and then you had the bridge layer. The bridge layer and the Phalanx feature the removal of the turret. So I'm going to take the gun crutch off. I'm going to take the turret off, which is a side operated slit mounts right there. Sometimes these are hard to seat, I found, to get it to lock, and sometimes it'll stop at the 3 or 9 o'clock position, and you just got to push it back down to get it a little bit, clear that lip. Might be because it's new, it's seating and whatnot, but they weren't mounted together in packaging, so I can work it out. As far as play features go, the turret really only features one, and it is the Commander's cupola, or the Commander's, sorry, not the Commander's cupola, but Commander's hatch in the turret. It's just for the Commander. There is no second hatch for the loader of this, which would tell me that this tank has an auto loader system. Very technological, very sophisticated tech, but subject to electronics and things like that, computers. If it goes wrong, you don't have your hands-on loading guy, right? Our modern tanks, you know, for the Leopards here in Canada, Leopard 2s, A6s, we have loaders, right? Guys who stand in here. So I would have liked to have seen another crew hatch here. There was room for it. There was space for it. You could have done it, but it would have involved moving the hunter-killer sight a little bit forward. But I think there was a mistake made in not allowing for that second Commander's hatch. But the reason I think it was intentional is because all of the intention went into the two seated compartments for the driver and what I'm assuming has got to be the gunner now, right? So you have these removable seats, which I'll take out. Oh, it seems my Commander's pistol is in there as well. Good thing that he can find it on the turret floor. Nice white floor, easy to spot things that drop. But as you have a look at it, right, you can see those nice computer motherboards. I'll get you some zoom ins, a bunch of bells and switches, and then these flight-like yokes, track yokes, right? So not a bad dual set there. Maybe some throttle control, and they've got foot pedals. Great, looks nice. I would love to look at my figures seated in there. And that's what the Phallanx allows you to do once you put seats back in, right? The Phallanx by Ramen is, like I said earlier, essentially your Wolverine for CoverGirl. And you can seat a figure in there, and what they will provide is two cupola hatches, or two little hatches there for you to see your figures. Now, that's great, and it works the same way for the bridge layer as I put this back in. And you can see those two figures. However, once I, remove him again, once I seat this turret on, again, at the side position and then rotate it, I am no longer able to see those two figures inside. There is no driver's hatch here or vision port that could have been played with. And there was room to do something here, right? Especially going with this sloped back turret rear. So I felt like a little bit of play features got robbed to kind of pressure one into buying the extension sets of the Phallanx or the bridge layer just to get more figure play. Because if you look at it, you'll get lots of figure play around this thing, and I could seat some guys on top of it, and I can have infantry following it, but I can only really see and interact with one figure there, right? And this to me becomes the problem at the price point it is, which is around the 200 US mark. You are looking at about a square foot or more of toy shelf space that is being monopolized by a beautiful main battle tank. That is not being argued. But it's taking space away from your collection's ability to interact, right? That is something that I said the Phalanx by Grid Iron had in spades. You can interact. So many figures in there, you might not have enough if you're just starting the collection to pile into that thing. Where in this one, if you just started this collection with one figure, you're already rolling. This thing does feature rolling tracks and great suspension, so I can carve it up on whatever terrain I find. Today's not a good day to go outside. It's cold, it's gray, it's wet, and otherwise I'd love to show you some of the suspension tricks, but I'll try to show them on my city fight terrain. So yeah, I felt like play feature got lost in this turret, in this driver's hatch area. And there is a little keyed slot right here, which tells me that one of the other add-ons interacts with this. The front panel and the rear panel here, as I'm showing you in shots, they removed to accommodate those extra builds. What also I noticed was the blast effect ports for the coax. You have smaller blast effects ports for the ACAC, and then you have a massive muzzle here, which would require its own blast effects. And Ramen has you covered. He did build that. However, they are not included with this vehicle. They are an add-on, which I also feel is a mistake. Most of the vehicles we are used to getting, if they have a unique blast effect possible, they're often included, especially with Hasbro. And this one had a unique gun barrel blast effect that was was available. It was designed specifically for the tank, yet it's a paid extra feature. So I feel the mistake here is, while this is a glorious main battle tank in design and aesthetics and everything's nice, and even the Decal set, clearly where all the money went, love all of that. But as far as play goes, it's running a bit roughshod here, right? With a little bit of skimping out. And I do feel the blast effect for the main cannon should not have been a purchased item. That should have been included in this, because we're all well aware of where the limitations were in play with the base set. So my harshest criticism is, I feel like, while I'm very happy with the quality of this toy, the solid plastics, some of the interaction and play that I do get out of it, what's driving me to really want this is the fact that I can identify with a main battle tank. I am one of the unique army guys that collect these things that can sit there and say, I've crewed these things, I've qualified this. So I have a bias. I have a very strong bias. If I look at this from a toy collector's perspective, I feel a little tricked. Not deceived, but a little bit enticed to spend more money to get more play out of an already very expensive enough, but I shouldn't say expensive enough, a very hard to, how do I describe this? The efforts get made to produce this by not just the company, but by the people invested in it, that put in the pre-orders and the weights and pay the shipping and pay the fees and do all that. I wanted more play out of this. I love the aesthetics of it, but as a player goes, very limited. So that's my criticisms on it. Let's find out some more stuff that I really like about it. Okay, so play factor aside, where I feel it's a little lacking, there is some play features that I'm going to talk about on this. You got your D-rings, detachable D-rings. They pull right off. If you hear something rattling around when you pull it out, it's probably one of these bad boys. Have a look. You should have 4 there on the front and the back, and that's recovery. You can have some play interaction with recovery. If you have tow cables and something that you want to tow with your tank, you can. Like I said, on the back, it's got the tow trailer and more D-rings. It's got paint where it needs certain paint. So you've got your headlights, a little bit of reflective silver on there. That's great. I want to talk about the Hunter Killer sight. If anybody doesn't know how Hunter Killer sight's operated, right, the gunner is basically controlling the main cannon. He's laid onto a target off in the distance, and maybe he's just interrogating that target or watching it, deciding whether he's going to engage it. The Hunter Killer sight's design allows the crew commander to search for other targets while that gun is engaged. He can search for another target, and then once identified, locks onto that target. Now, as soon as the gunner is finished engaging his target, he basically releases the controls, and the gun is slaved to the sight immediately and lays on direct shot onto that next target, right where it was locked in on. So it saves time, it allows the tank crews to be faster in battle, and it allows a lot more anticipation of what's going to happen, right? So I do like that they included that in there, but again, not at the cost of a second loader position or where the crew commander should be. Technically, the loader would be over here and the crew commander would be over here. I think that really bothered me quite a lot. You have areas to stow boxes, ammo crates, and other things on there. Little slots, but this also looks like housing for potential future projects, right? So like that represented here. One big thing I feel like should have been represented that didn't get represented on here. I won't talk about add-on armor the way I did with the Grid Iron, but multi-bank smoke grenade dischargers. That is one of the few extra protection measures that all main battle tanks really roll out with. The ability to put smoke between them and an enemy so that they can change positions, put their armor forward against the enemy if they were caught blindsided, react. I feel not having those on there on a main battle tank is a problem. However, things I really did like, I said I would show you guys that independent suspension. You'll notice I made my road a little too narrow, but you can see how this track just kind of rolls right up. That don't matter. We don't need your stinking road, right? That kind of thought to it, right? Magnetized gun crutch, I do like that. But I wonder what other magnetized features could have been squeezed in here to give us a little bit more justification with it. I found it cool that he included all the lift points that, the high-ab maintenance crews would need to lift the turret out of the vehicle, to pull the engine packs, all that sort of stuff. Those are cool inclusions. There are some great details in here. But I also would have liked it if these side skirts had flipped up. I'm talking about the ability to play with this by showing it in different states. I want to be able to look at my crews repairing this. This is why we have Cover Girl with a sledgehammer. I would love to be able to show more dynamic or interesting things about this tank, but really all I can show you is that the turret traverses and that someone sits inside, that it has antennas and a removable gun crutch, and that this goes on, and that if you were to take the time to take it apart, there's some beautiful interior detail there. Look at me trying to look all sophisticated in a chair with the tank on one side and the Phalanx on the other. Hey, listen, you might be getting the idea that I'm talking down a little bit about this tank, like I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed. Some of these issues I saw coming a mile away, and I ordered it anyways because it's a tank. Like I said, I have that bias. But let's talk about your dollar value for a little bit. All right, so this, let's not talk about shipping and handling and duties or anything like that. 200 US basically is what they asked for this. These are sold out now. For the base set tank. 200 US gets you the tank, a beautiful set of decals, and the turret that goes on top of it with a nice MG3 kind of German style machine gun. It also gives you a ton of potential to spend more money on the other sets and get the Phalanx / Wolverine or the bridge layer. What you don't get in this is lights, electronics, or drivers and figures, or blast effects with this one that I think you do get with the Phalanx. So $200 for that quality plastic, great assembly, solid toy, some interaction with the traction and the suspension, and some little bits of play for one figure, or really 3, but 1 that you can see. I compare this now to what I'm going to expect with the Cobra Arctic Hiss, which is a HasLab that survived its 3-year shelf life, enough to return now as a direct-to-retail toy. Understanding that, I think people are hoping that that's going to hit the $200 mark. It too will feature 0 electronics, 0 lights, any of that stuff. It will have its own decals, I'm sure, but it will have a turret of sorts in its missile rack. It will have features that are removable and playable, just like the gun crutch on this. It'll include a driver, and it will have figure interaction for just as many figures as the Hiss tank did. So let's call that close to 6 that you can interact with that toy with. And it occupies the same amount of space. Ramen is a decision you make to say, I want to supplement my G.I. Joe collection. I ordered this with no expectations of Hasbro's reflection on the collection. I just wanted to see how somebody else approached it. And what I saw was Ramen used a strategy to compete. By making this tank and making it as versatile as they did, they showed fans that they could quickly acquire for around $200 to $300 in that bracket, either a main battle tank, a Wolverine, or a Toss and Cross. I don't know if that affected Hasbro's decision to go with the Snowcat as a HasLab over the Mauler, but I'm sure it had to have been talked about because the orders of this sold out. I look at the play quality on this and I say Ramen strategy really kind of took a hit on the Hunter as far as figure interaction. But overall, I think it's a fantastic toy. I think for the price point I paid for it, I got what I expected. almost. I expected the blast feature to be included in this. I knew about the internal issue of two figures hiding in this version, but I would have hoped that at somewhere down the line, I would have discovered more play features that say, oh, I can see them in there. And the only way I can do that is to take the commander out. So it's really not great for displaying figures, but it is great for a G.I. Joe main battle tank. So take that opinion for what you will. This has been my review on it. I'm happy I bought it. I'm happy I built a top shelf terrain where I can actually see it because, it's nice to look at. But as far as the play function goes, I think people are going to be more happy that they spent the extra money on the Phalanx variant and the Toss and Cross variant because of the interaction they're going to get with those. For those of us who bought the Hunter tank, we did so with a reason. But if you're looking for something that you can compare to a HasLab, no, this will be more comparable to that Arctic Hiss, as I say. And I think Arctic Hiss will give you just a bit more for your money. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you very soon with more stuff as I've got some new Marvel stuff in I got to go have a look at now. Okay, talk to you soon.